Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Lancescurv. You're going to hear me sounding a little funny because in the last few days I had major work done at the dentist. So certain words are not going to sound right or the way it sounds, but I can rest assure you that it's me. This is why I had a few days off. Anyway, I'm just glad to be alive, glad to be here, and life is phenomenal. But there are a few things, even though I'm taking lots of medication right now to not feel pain, which I don't like to do, a lot of things have been floating around through my mind. And in that time, I've come to the realization that many people are not living the lives that they want to live. And when they get to a point before transition, if they know that they're transitioning or have that luxury, and why I call it a luxury is because we can end up in an accident where we woke up that day, we were making plans for the next week, the next month, not knowing that we wouldn't be here in the 24-hour period after making those plans. So if you do know, you can kind of make amends with certain things and come to certain points of acceptance in your life. But when many do, they have regrets where they didn't live as full as they possibly could, and they wanted to live more daring, not reckless, but to try different things, to travel different places, to explore more, as opposed to living in the bubble that for the most part was self-imposed. Even though they may say, well, living in the system, there's lots of limitations. I understand that. But many people want to take the safe route, but they're still not putting the pedal to the metal to do all of the things that they wanted to do with a childlike enthusiasm. You see, to me, we are born and we are limitless in our thinking. And after a time, reality in the world around us, and depending on how we were raised, that begins to shrink wrap around our movement. And I'm talking about what's imposed on us by the people around us, the people that raise us up, and the people that have accepted great limitation in their mind. And life, to me, is a continuous effort to not let somebody else impose their reality on you or their expectations of you, and you adopt them and you accept them. Like, oh, I could never be this and I could never be that, or in my family nobody ever did this and nobody ever did that, so I guess I'm going to have the same reality. But then when we see other people who live in a way where they have broken through that glass ceiling that really doesn't exist, we're in awe, and we wish secretly that we could have done the same things. So my thought today, and it came from my thinking in the last few days, is that why do we accept these limitations? And also, limitations just doesn't mean being discouraged from trying something, but I see, and I've begun to see how our striving for success can also be a trap. Our reaching higher can also be a prison if it's not truly what we want to do. Because many times we're thinking about the future, as we should, but we forfeit the present and never live in the present. We never live in the now. And you know how it was, and for most of us in our childhood, because I know there are many people who have had very traumatic childhoods. But for the most part, we were always living in the now. You know, we were told about the future, but the future was always something far and distant. We didn't have enough time on this earth to really conceptualize the future. Yeah, okay, the future, you know, I want to go out and play. Yeah, the future, the ice cream truck is coming. I want to get some ice cream. You know what I mean? The cartoons are coming on. Yeah, the future, okay. We didn't understand. But as we got older, life, for many of us, began to lose its sweetness, because now we begun to have a past, and the future's pushed on us more. And as we get older, it's more important that we think about the future. So we have to choose something that we have to do. And usually, most people have, when they're younger, their aspirations and what they want to do with their life. But then over time, that gets beat down. And we narrow the options of what we want to do. And for the most part, most people, I'm not saying all, and this is not a doom and gloom type of monologue, but most people accept something subpar from really the highest level of what they wanted to do. And because they've been boxed in to a particular reality, they gave up on visualizing something better for themselves, which the something better for themselves should be based on what they want to do and not what society, family, your neighbors, your teachers, the people at religious institutions are telling you this is what you should do. Now, good advice is always excellent. If you're a man 5'2", it may be kind of foolish to say, I want to be the world's greatest basketball player, right? Well, have a backup plan, right? There's certain things that are like, okay, we're delusional sometimes, some of us, and we need to be brought back into a proper space. But who's to say if that 5'2" man wanted to be some type of computer engineer, some type of scientist, or some type of scholar? You know, he can do that. It doesn't matter with your height. But that's still all up to him if he wants to try to be the world's greatest basketball player. I wouldn't put my finger in that, but if he asked me advice, I'd ask him, what is your backup plan? But many of us who are shooting for success, that can become your trap if you're doing it to satisfy someone else. Well, my mother and father always wanted me to be a lawyer. And you might be the best lawyer, but it may not satisfy your soul to the deepest recesses of your soul. I'm not saying not to try, anything else if you're in a good profession. If you're making money, take your time and indulge yourself. But for the most part, those who feel they're living a nondescript life, why don't you just put yourself in a new space? You don't have to ask anybody else what it is that you want to do. Now, I know where you are. You may be making some money, even if it's just to pay the bills, and you're at ground zero, just not gaining, but you feel trapped. Your mind doesn't have to feel trapped. Your mind doesn't have to be limited. Let your imagination run. Maybe you don't like the city that you live in. Maybe you can't get along in the state that you live in. Maybe that side of the country that you live in is not doing it for you. Maybe fantasize about living in other countries. Look, I fantasize about a lot of things. And I'm here in Ghana right now, and now I'm ready soon to travel the planet. I want to see other places. Of course, there are other places that I'm going to go here in the motherland before the year is out and when the new year begins. I'm free and I can do whatever I want. Lancescurv and I. So, if I want to go to Singapore and check out Singapore, if I want to go to Thailand and see it there, if I want to go to Kenya, I have friends in Kenya, I want to go there. Lancescurv has friends in Kenya. What a leg up. It's not like we'll be strangers. They will have somebody to tell, hey, go here, go there. Let me guide you. But why can't I live in different countries? Right? And maintain what I have here. I am not limited. And that's what keeps every single day for me an adventure. Several have tried to impose limitations on my thinking in a cult-like manner, but it didn't work. Not me. Evidently, they don't know me really good. But there'll be people who try to take your energy for their benefit, and it won't work. And you should never be afraid to stand on your own 2 feet, because ultimately you'll be victorious. And those shadow beings will have to flee and run their game on someone else. But don't allow the pursuit of your success trap you, because it may not be what you really want to do. If it's paying you well, if you feel good about it, if it's something that brings so much joy to your heart, fine. But then always sample the possibility of other realities. You weren't made to be limited. You weren't made to be put in a box. You weren't made to stay in one spot. If one road is not feeding you properly, there's so many other roads. Don't you know when you go to a destination, there's several ways of getting there? So if one roadblock appears in front of you, you take another road. If the exit that you were supposed to utilize to get to an affair that you planned on going to, if that exit off of the highway is not available, go to the next exit and trace back and find your way. Don't ever make anyone make you feel that there's only one way, or doing it their way is the only way. We have so many gifts and talents and abilities within us that we oftentimes get so caught up in running after the dollar, when in essence, if there's something that you do well, no matter what it may be, still make your money, but cultivate that talent that you have. Specify how you want to execute it. Right now, there's an ability that I have, and after all of these years, I know where to put it, and I'm very excited about this. I'm very relaxed about this. There's nothing about it from any angle that I can see anything negative, and it's so unique with what I know and with what I can do with this talent, that it's not a matter of, oh, I have to chase the dollar. No, the dollars will chase me. That's how certain I am of it, without the quackery. But sometimes you have to sit down and be still. And you see the success of others that's deeply rooted because they love what they do. Find out what it is that you love. It's going to take some time. more or less. But don't let this world trap you into living someone else's life or telling you that, well, on this job, if you put in 20 or 25 years, you'll become the manager one day and maybe you'll be on the top. Maybe. No. Because once you start cultivating what's inside of you that connects, it may not bring you money right away, because the goal is not money. The goal is doing something that you love, that you resonate with, that you become the best in that niche market. And the joy that comes in from completing your work, whatever it may be, because if you love it, it won't be actual work. And every day you'll be free, and every day will not feel like a job. See, time is moving on. And I like to say time is an artificial construct. And it is on this level, because on the next levels of our existence, I don't believe that there is a thing called time, this man-made thing called time that he can manipulate. No. But I feel the movement of universal acceleration, which people who have no idea about that will say, oh, it feels like time is moving so fast. Well, if you want to break it down on that lower level, it is. I don't believe that a month is moving the way a month did 40 years ago, 50 years ago. I believe it's moving faster. I believe, just off the top of my head, that a month goes by in the same time span that 2.5 weeks went by 30 or 40 years ago. But the time and the days go by, but the actual speed of it is moving faster. And we can feel it. And I have no problem with that, because if that's how nature has to go, let it go. All I say is that just don't waste a day. Don't waste a moment. Don't waste time in speculation unnecessarily, because so many people, they plan their lives away. And they plan and they plan and they speculate and they plan, and they never move past the planning stage. There's some things I've been planning on in the next few days that I have to plan on. But for the most part, I have it pretty much worked out. I just have to connect the dots. And then I have to get to work. It won't take me away from what I'm doing here on social media, but it has calmed me down a bit, where I'm not even pushing social media like that. I'm just going to be me and do what I enjoy, and that's the ultimate fulfillment. I don't want to be like these individuals who are like lawyers chasing ambulances. You know, they get up and I used to push more, and I flowed that way. But now that I realize I have options, now that I'm feeling more secure in my existence as a person who's retired, and a lot of things I don't have to worry myself about. So let me get down to the nitty gritty, knowing that I'm blessed at this particular age when so many people I know didn't make it to 62. And here I am looking ahead to my best time in life and preparing myself. And that's the promise I made myself. And I told Mrs. Scurv that. I said, you know what? From now until the end of the year and beyond, taking care of myself always, but I'm going to create the best version of myself, mentally, physically, and spiritually, that I can at this point. You see? Not being selfish, but being able to have a bigger scoop when it comes time to get my scoop of ice cream, symbolically. Make it more enjoyable. Why not? And that's what a lot of us have given up on also. the true happiness, the peace of mind, the centeredness. I have no gripe. Just don't stop me from doing what it is that I desire to do. And we have many individuals out here who are very frustrated with their lives. They weren't responsible at certain types of times in their lives, and they're paying the price by living in a reduced state. Straighten it out. I didn't do it to you. I have had debts and different things I've had to take care of. And there's always a maintenance that we have to do for ourselves. Not just the physical, mental, spiritual, but the financial, budget, spending wisely. But boy, I'm telling you, when you can go to sleep and have peace of mind and not afraid that someone's going to knock on your door to collect a debt or knock on your door to deport you or take you away somewhere because there's something that you owe or you didn't, family responsibility. You know what I mean? Just something. Live straight, y'all. So you may have dreams, but you can't go after them if you're barely surviving and have things hanging over your head. What a way to live. So now that I'm at this point, it's all enjoyment for me. The other thing for me is the never-ending, how could I say it? The never-ending issues that many people who look like me have, but never want to correct or expand upon. You can't keep crying and being, I'm going to say it, being a victim all your life. The system is set up to keep us a certain way. We should know that by now. And it's not fair. But what in the hell are you going to do about it to change your circumstance? Look, don't look for your enemy to part the Red Sea and ask for forgiveness and hand you a whole lot of money and tell you, listen, the world is yours, we're sorry. This is what it is. It would be nice if things change. It would be nice if we all can get reparations. But I'm going to tell you, some of us are so foolish that if we were handed reparations, you know who would be the happiest? It wouldn't be melanated people in America. It'd be all the Korean and Asian beauty shops that line the black neighborhood. The car dealerships that are not owned by us. The jewelers. The stores in the mall. They would be happy because they would benefit from it more. Because we still have to wear our wealth on our sleeves because of this state of low self-esteem that is a true emotional and mental pandemic in the American African community. And I just can't carry you no more. I'm not saying I ever carried you. I'm not saying I'm that great of a figure. I'm an unknown guy relatively. I'm known a little bit. But you got to understand, if you stop paddling as a content creator on social media, the algorithmic waters will swallow you up and you'll be soon forgotten. What happens after 20, 30 years after you stop or you do your last video because you can't stay here on this earth forever? 30 years go by, 40 years go by, 100 years go by. The people who hold your last name, who are your offspring and your descendants, if they have the technology to keep videos around, fine, but they're pretty much going to be living their own lives. They might not even know you. Can you go 5 generations back? Most can't. You don't even know the people who were before you that brought you here. So why put stock in something that eventually diminishes? Like myself, all through my life, I've had different types of trucks, a few luxury cars, a few subcompacts, a lot of used vehicles, some new. And I'm like, why do I want to get caught up in that right now? Why not budget myself and do the things that I like to do? See, the last 2 days, I haven't even left the house. I got a huge yard around this house, which people call a compound. And I've gone outside. When I'm home and I go outside, 85% of my property is so private, I'd say. Maybe 90. I don't even wear clothes most of the time. I'm so economical. I'm not going to sweat up that shirt right now, or those shorts. I'm going to walk around like this and get the sun on me. Maybe it's too much information. What I'm saying is that I've learned to live from the inside out. I am not trying to impress you. I'm extracting as much life and interaction in the moment at this present time. Yes, I do have aspirations for the future, but it's not overriding my mind so much that I forfeit and give up my present. So while time sometimes seems to move fast, I'm still getting every minute, every hour of every day that I live. And each segment of it is so enjoyable. When I wake up and I can just lay there until I want to get up. When I feel myself winding down and it's time for bedtime, I love bedtime. I love losing myself in the deepest of REM sleep slumbers. I love being to myself. Of course, Lancescurv and I are like one, right? And even still, she may be for a few hours in a different part of the house, a yard, and I'm doing my thing, whatever, and then we come together. But we're free flowing. There's no drama. There's no hidden motivations or secret agendas. A simple life. It's all I ever wanted. The complications of America, what's hanging over your head all the time. I don't want anything to hang over my head. I'm not reading this from a script. This is straight from the heart. Live life according to your own terms. If the next person goes to the restaurant and they like jollof rice, as they do love in Ghana, and the next person wants an American pizza, why argue? Do your thing. Enjoy yourself. And me, on the same token, I'm not coming to condemn you for whatever it is you do. If you're doing something against nature or against common sense, you're old enough and smart enough to know the consequences. If you ask me advice, don't be mad at what I tell you, because I'm going to be brutally honest. We all have to face the consequences of our actions, even though many have skirted around consequences. Eventually, you're going to have to deal. Things never remain the same. There are people who are living on edge, but they think that they're on such a rock solid existence that if one crucial person passes away out of their life, their whole world is upside down, but they don't know it, because in their arrogance they've been convinced that they're untouchable. I'm not Superman, and me getting older has let me know that I'm very much vulnerable. So I'm just glad to be here. I know I can still defend myself, but why walk around with that mentality? Why can't we talk things out? Now, if you push me and I'm cornered, I have a lot of juice in my fruit. I can still do a little damage here and there. Maybe not as intense as I was in 2/3 of my life ago, around 20 years old, but that's okay. You evolve. And you know what? The other thing that I wanted to share and pass along, be thankful for the disappointments. Be thankful for the backstabbers. Be thankful for those things that you've overcome. Because once you overcome those entities or those situations or the things from the inside that you have to deal with, hopefully, if you have a modicum of sense, you'll never allow it to happen again. And that's the honest to God truth. I heard a story about a man who had a tumor. And it was a kind of tumor, cancerous tumor, that could spread. It wasn't benign. It slips me the other type, but you have two types of tumors. One that's going to spread and one that stays in one spot. And back in 1977, the year of the blackout in New York City, which I very well remember, my mother was in Sloan Kettering Hospital, one of the best cancer hospitals in the world, on the east side of Manhattan. And she had to have a tumor removed from her breast. And they caught it in time to remove it, because they said that if 2 more hours went by, surely that tumor was going to spread. And she lived until 1994, and it wasn't cancer that took her, it was a stroke. And that's a whole other story. And I've learned from these negative situations. But the story I wanted to tell you about the tumor that I heard, that there was a man who had this tumor, and he was surely to die. I don't know the details of the story, but that's what it was. He accepted death because of the condition of his body. He even said so long and goodbye to his loved ones. And he reached out to loved ones who were distant that he hadn't contacted in a while, and had a good conversation with them and let them know. And, he made his peace. And so there was nothing that could be done. He made his peace and he accepted death. But that wasn't his destiny. Somehow, some way, this tumor vanished. It was no more. Doctors checked up and down, left and right, in and out, over a period of weeks and months. This tumor was gone. And so he said, thank God for the tumor, because that tumor has given me a greater appreciation for life. Now I enjoy life more than I ever did, because before my miracle, he says, I was one who had regrets, lived under limitations and other people's limitations and expectations, but now I'm doing more than I ever done. And he said, it's not that I'm a millionaire. I've traveled more. I've gotten outside of my little bubble. But it's not so much spending money to travel or buy new outfits or stuff like that. He said the walks that he would take. He never really went to the next town over and took a walk. He'd take his car and go to different parks that he knew were there, that he would pass by in his commute. But within several miles of where he lived, the circle got bigger and bigger. He explored more. He was more into being open to conversations and passing. He was more into enjoying and experiencing the beauty of life. He would not allow this system to take his enthusiasm. He would not allow people who he found out were trying to steal his destiny and discourage him, take him away from this appreciation of life and his thankfulness to God. So many people may look at you with your renewed enthusiasm for life, but see you in the same apartment, the same house, driving the same car. They don't know that the cobwebs have been pulled away from your vision when you get to that point. They don't know that you see life as a limitless opportunity, as long as you're not quelled in your ability to spread your wings, because it's all in the mind. Nobody can stop you. These are your best days because you're here right now. Miracles do happen. Sometimes they don't. But whatever you have, enjoy it to the utmost. But do not allow someone else to limit your movement and to limit your thoughts and to limit the potential that you have, which is literally guaranteed when you move toward it. I'm really, really looking forward to this next chapter and the next chapters in my life. Reality is a heck of a thing. It was a time when I was working at the jail day after day, dealing with the same people who they call inmates, who are my brothers and you have sisters there too, although I preferred to work with the men. And many would get caught up in a narrow mentality if they allowed it. Some that I know traveled all over the world. Some would just look through the newspapers for the sales, the car dealerships, the new cars, and many would buy, as an example, a brand new vehicle beyond their means, and it would have to stay in the jail to work so much overtime to pay for a vehicle that they never took a drive in other than a commute. So they're trapped. Nice, shiny, brand new truck or car, but they have to sit in there in a stinky jail with a lot of frustrated people on both sides of the bars, symbolically. I don't need that much. I don't even want that much. I want the ability to move freely. You'll see soon that I'll post up things, and I don't really announce when I travel. I don't do that. That's something that I have a little phobia about. But after I do, you'll see it. I was here, I was there. Light. Meeting people. Forging friendships and connections beyond the reach of someone who may want to smear you or copycat your reality. No, I've learned the last few years, I've learned so much. And I have nowhere to go else but up with all the prior knowledge. and the discipline and the knowledge as these potentials, the potential realities come into focus, to be able to execute it and manifest it. See, manifesting is not just sitting there, I'm going to manifest this and I'm going to manifest, and you're not doing nothing toward it? No. We got social media. I'm not going to sit here and endlessly scroll and just shoot out links. Oh, look at this, look at that, look at this. No, I'm using that to make some connections. I'm using it to ask some questions. I'm getting a lot of questions answered. This is a big world out here. Understand that. I'm trying to get you to see the potential of this life, even though if you look at the news and look at the headlines, the dollar is dropping. You know, AI is going to take over your job, which is true eventually. But what can you do to secure your future where all of that other stuff doesn't matter? Right? We need jobs to pay our bills. But what happens if we move into a life where we don't have much bills? It's not how much you make, it's what you don't spend. I don't need the pressure on me. When I was driving the bus in Orlando, Florida, from where I sat higher up than most vehicles, I'd glance down and see these fabulous vehicles and fancy dashboards and all the amenities, and I saw so much I didn't even desire that. I said, just get me a little something to get around from point A to point B. And now, after leaving vehicles in America and not even having one right now, aside from maybe getting out of the rain or being able to pick up groceries and go different places where the vans don't go, which I'm going to eventually do. It's all according to plan. But I don't go many places anyway right now. So why should I be taking from the money that I've earned in retirement to have something sitting out there to impress somebody else? No. I like sleeping deep and sleeping late. I didn't come out here to be broke. But I will get something soon. And I will probably drive it once or twice a week. That's it. Because I'm very happy where I am at home. But when I do go out, lots of times I'll probably have to take an Uber or a taxi to drop me off at the airport. See, I didn't come to Ghana to just sit down and look stupid. I'm not saying anybody who comes here for good or doesn't move around, they're stupid. I'm not saying that by no means whatsoever. But there's too much inside of me, and the fires have been kindled, and, just, it's raging right now. And ain't nothing gonna blow that fire out. I can see and feel the next level. And I want you to be able to do the same thing too. Because too many of us are defeated, or they have that voice that's self-defeating, and you'll have regrets as time goes on. So whatever you need to change, you need to change it. But let it be something that you want to do, that burns inside you. And really think, because sometimes we forget. Sometimes we lose ourselves keeping up with this reality of the bills, like I need to work, and we just give up on that. We just tarnished and reduced and defeated, and it's sad to be that way. And lots of times we go through stuff and we don't have the resources, we think, to even dream. We almost want to apologize. If you dream about something so high for you that you want to do, sometimes you can't tell it to your family or friends because they're going to automatically start to discourage you. Why would you want to do something like that? How are you going to get that done? All the bills you got, all the responsibilities that you have. What you mean you want to do this and do that? How are you going to do that? Do you have money? Like it's all dependent on that. You can't be afraid. Anything that opposes your success or anything that opposes you, you cannot be afraid. Because you already lost. Right? But if something resonates with you and you can see the opening, you go for it. Doesn't mean you make a foolish decision and say, I'm quitting my job and I'm just going to go for it because Lance said so. No. You have to use balance in your thinking and your projections. Because a lot of us, to be honest, we spend more of our life force and energy in waste. That if we were to recall that wasted energy back, we'd have so much to catapult ourselves to the next level, if you think about it that way. I started thinking about that a long time ago. Back in, 1998? I got tired of going to the barbershop because I always want to keep my hair perfect. So I'd go for a main cut once a week. Then when it started to grow out fast, I have them trim off a little bit of fuzz that's there. Make it look exact. Sometimes I go, and if I'm in the neighborhood, say, listen, man, hit this part off real quick for me. I'm like, what am I doing? And for me, I was like, I'm cutting my hair off. This is costing me too much. I began to get thrifty and not waste. And at times I treat myself and splurge on certain things. Right? But you have to think for yourself. There was a time when I was heavily into veganism. And I wasn't arrogant with it, but I stuck through to the letter of the law. And realized that for my blood type, it wasn't the right thing to do. It was actually weakening me. And this is why when you have cult-like figures around you who want to control you, they will push certain ways of eating on you to keep you weak. And you see that you're losing some vitality, which makes you easier to control. No, I'm not going to go out there and eat some pork or eat any steak. No way. But I've slightly altered my diet, which I'm basically plant-based with a few other little things, 15%. And it's made a big difference. I'm still strong as a mule. Not as strong as a mule as I was as a mule. And I'm not saying I was a mule, but when I was about 19, 20 years old, forget it. In my mind, I was Superman. And a few other people thought that also. The beauty of youth. It's a wonderful thing. But gaining wisdom and maintaining yourself, and as the years go by, you still have those memories, you still have those feelings, but you have so much more. There's so much more that you can see. And right now, with the way that I live my life and so much quiet time, so much isolation from these odd spirits that float around and try to lodge themselves onto your existence and get in your world and turn it upside down. There's none of that. I keep everything away from me until I can discern the spirit. And what has proven to be rotten can never come back. But you erase those things out of your mind as far as your everyday thoughts. But those energies, oh no. You've proven. You've revealed your hand. Can never come back. That makes your success even easier to attain. Especially when you have a track record of doing. And I think I still kind of have that track record. And online, they may take a channel down or take things down. It doesn't stop me from doing what I do. And now, interested in so many other things that, not that I never thought I could do it, but I had to dig deep back for the talents that I've always had. Let's see see how this works out, because this is untouchable. And I'm really, really interested in the niche market that I'm going into with this. It'll be revealed soon, but we're going to keep it under wraps, work it for about a year. You know, even though it'll be functional, but it'll be in a whole different world. But again, like I say, I just can't do the same things that I've been doing. And, you know, as black people, we've got to wake up. We've got to wake up. And many are falling into a dark, bottomless, hopeless abyss of doom. I love y'all, but I can't get down with all of y'all no more, because that's going nowhere. You know, like I always say, you can sign up for a gym membership. You can buy the latest gym gear, tights, shorts, shirts, t-shirts, all of the gadgets. Get a nice set of headphones, listen to music, and the best running and walking or lifting shoes or sneakers, whatever you want to call it. And you can go to the gym every single day and just sit down in the corner and do nothing. See, going to the gym and not doing anything is not going to improve your physique or your health. Just the same way that punching the clock, I say it that way, there is no clock in church, but going every Sunday to church. I've been, I'm how old now? I'm 65 years old, and every day for the last 52 years, I've been in church. But you're still a gossip. You're still hateful. You're still wishing the worst for others. So what good is it doing you? What good is it really doing you? See, you're regressing as you get older, breaking up your Venetian blinds to watch the neighbors and what they're doing. I can care less what anybody's doing. I mean, I don't care. Not that I don't care about people. All I'm saying is that I got so much of my own stuff to do and produce and create. I got no time to, I'm on the highway driving, I'm going to slow down and watch somebody else. I got someplace to go. I want to utilize every minute to build a legacy. There are things that I've done that the world don't even know, or people don't even know, that if I unearthed them, you're like, wow, you did that? You see what I mean? What are the new things that I can begin to execute now as I live according to my desires righteously, as long as your God signs off on it and it's not hurting anybody and it comes from the heart? And you've been blessed with these talents and abilities, why not? Why would you let somebody come in and tell you what you can't do? Or here's the other one. You have these energies who know what you're capable of, but they'll try to shoot you down from something that you never did in your past. You never said you were going to do anyway. They'll, oh, you know, you could have been a great architect. Well, I apprenticed in New York City in 1985 under Paul Friedberg and Associates for less than a year. Google his name. One of the top architects. He was a client of my father's. And I was going to go to City College. And I had such an advantage by going there to apprentice under him and the associates that worked under him. I learned a lot. I love design. I just don't love the specifics of architecture, and I tried that out. Right? But earlier on, my parents always afforded me the option to try things out to see if I liked it or not. And I never stopped that, even though they have ascended. My father in 1990, my mother in 1994. But I still treat myself that way. You know, I used to play the guitar, used to go in these kiddie concerts that the instructor would have set up. I used to play the piano, played it well. My folks had a Brewster piano in their home, beautiful piano. That was normalcy for me. I explored so many different things, so many different books, projects in nature, and different things being in New York City that I was exposed to. So I could never be a one-trick pony. And you don't have to be either, with these limitations that dysfunctional families will put on you, or these low-grade acquaintances that you call friends, but they're really waiting for you to fall, because if you succeed, that shows them up. I don't have any of that around me now. And I'm on track. Let's see how tomorrow, or what tomorrow brings, as I pursue so much. I'm not going to burn myself out. I know how to live. I know how to take care of my body, live balanced. All of these things come into play. But from this point on, you want to take your best shot in life. Nothing else matters. To do less, and remember, it's according to what you want to do. But anything less is an insult to your creator. Remember that. Slothfulness, laziness, agreeing. You know, we have so many people, I'll say it this way. You can call them friends. But there's so many people that it's like they had a silent agreement to not pursue anything. A silent agreement to be bums. You understand? A silent agreement that if we sit down here and we all stay on the same level, then we'll all have each other and hang out and spend time, and it's a security in a sense. And let me explain what this means. You ever go by a liquor store in the inner city and you see a bunch of men sitting around and they're all drinking? Most of them might be broken for whatever reason, but they found each other, and it's like they agreed to just stay on that one level. But the minute one of them has a moment where they realize this is going nowhere, it may not be where they plan on being a rocket scientist, but they want to do better. They're sitting around with other men who are urinating in their pants and looking at the young girls who are not paying no mind, sitting in front of the liquor store. Worse when they have a lot next to a dirt lot, and there's always that couch. And who donated a couch, a living room couch? And it might have just rained, and these guys are sitting on this couch, drinking, urinating. They're not enjoying themselves, but they've agreed to a life of mediocrity. And that's not even mediocrity. My God, give me a word for that. But the minute somebody out of their crew wants to move up and move on, they will criticize that man. He ain't nothing but a wino like us. He been out here drinking for the last 15 years. Who the hell he think he is? He ain't gonna get nowhere. Ain't nobody gonna hire him for no job. Ain't nobody. See? But just a few moments before they laughing with you, and you thought you had these people in your corner. But when you don't live according to what the mediocre mind feels you should do, you're an enemy now. Because now they have to think, well, maybe I can do better. But they don't want to think that. See? So you got to cut them loose. And they're going to talk about you. They're not going to like you. They're going to make up stuff about you. They're going to do all that stuff. But remember, your success shoots all of that down. And at the end of the day, what can they say they did from the heart? So you do what you have to do, and make sure to never give up, because you were put here for a certain reason, but you weren't put here to fit into something that doesn't honor how unique you are. That's for you to do. Because if this world has its way, it'll be a cookie cutter situation. You'll work a job that's low paying. You'll work a job that doesn't honor your individual talents and abilities. They may say that, but they won't. And if they utilize it, it's for their benefit. We're born alone. We're going to transition alone. Meaning that even if you have everybody holding your hand at the point of transition, they're not coming with you. Enjoy the good people in your life. Focus on them. Focus on your hopefully ever tightening inner circle. Because that circle can get so big you don't know who's who. But the minute you straighten your life up and proclaim that you're cleaning it up, the snap of a finger, they're gone. And it feels so good when that happens. You know, when you eat a lot of food and you just feel so miserable. But once you go home and take care of that, you have an empty stomach. Not empty, hungry, you full of nutrition, but you don't have this weight on you anymore. And that's another thing. What weight are we carrying? What weight are other people putting on us that we're walking around with? You see what I mean? Like, people dump on you. And I mentioned dysfunctional families earlier. And lots of times we just inherit their view of the world and their view of reality. And that's not right. We don't know. Kids, we don't know. We trust the people who are raising us for the most part. And they tell us what it is. And we just accept it for what it is. But when we begin to question, that's when the problems begin. Now, see, if you were raised properly, they would want you to question, so you understand totally that what they're saying to you is the right thing. And you build a form of emotional, spiritual, and mental credit with those who do you right. You see what I mean? If you're a little girl, you grew up to be a young lady, teenager, young lady, and everything your father or the male figure in your life, if you have one, everything they told you was right on point, because you went out in the world and found out or learned different from your own experience or witnessing this from someone else. As you get older and that male figure or that father continues to be on point, when you get into your early 20s now, and you know there's a few more factors in your biological, your desires, your passion. Now you're seeing boys or men, young men, and your father guides you as to how to move about those male energies who are not always sincere when they tell you that they love you. You may want to, and we'll keep it decent, and you know what I mean. But if your father says you need to hold yourself back and test the spirit and do things the right way, and don't rip and run through your 20s to having responsibilities that keep you from ascending in the things that you want to do, and you find yourself in your early or middle 30s with things you have to take care of that shouldn't have been until the time was right. And even though you burn, you won't feel burnt, and you won't be burnt out. See? So this is why we have to always be able to question. If you're around people who don't allow you to question, they're suspect. They're suspect. You were given a mind for a reason. You were given logic for a reason. Use it. Just because somebody is popular doesn't mean their advice is the best. Just because a person is your mother, which should be the one to always tell you the truth, it doesn't always mean the best. I've seen mothers who are envious of the potential that their daughters had. I've seen fathers envious of the potential that their sons had in this world. Well, I didn't have the opportunities that you had, and I had to drive that car and drive that truck all my life, and I raised you up. Well, they should be glad that they have a child or children that can embark on the opportunities in the world, but it's not always that way. We learn that the hierarchy is not as holy as we were told that it was. Hopefully it is. I didn't have to go through that. I love my parents. Their energy is somewhere. And hopefully I can reunite with their energies when I ascend and thank them for what they've done for me. And I went on myself now and made poor decisions based on passions, based on lust, based on being hard-headed. But at least I had a base. And I was mentally anchored where I couldn't go but so far. I always had a place to come back to, and that was my upbringing. So I find it even more amazing when those who didn't have that come back to a place of being anchored from the lessons they learned. That's even more amazing to me. Because any one of us could have found ourselves up the creek without a paddle, so to say. But as I wrap this down, I just want to say again, you don't have to strive for what someone else tells you success is. We all define what success is in our own life. And you have some people who try to shove their version of success down your throat. Some people don't want a big house. Some people don't even want a house. They want a little apartment that they can have, or a room, and they want to be able to travel. Some people, stability scares them as far as the classic version of it. They want to bounce around here and there. They want to freelance. They want to feel free. Know what it is that you need to do for yourself as long as you're securing yourself and you're self-sustaining. But never let anybody limit your dreams. Because like I always like to say, and I haven't said it for a long time, just because you wake up and you see a cloudy day doesn't mean the sun is not shining. The sun always shines. So no matter what you have going on in your life, you're in a relationship that you want to get out of, it's draining you, it's the wrong choice, you're in a different state of mind when you got with this person, or you're in a job that is just beating you down, there's always better. And if you've lived a sizable life as far as the chronological time is concerned, think back to all the things that you felt was going to defeat you, and you overcame it. And sometimes it takes time. But don't get so caught up in emotionalism that you lose the ability to think. My mind, me, and I know me personally, I'm not saying not you or anybody else, but I know my mind is a heck of a weapon for my righteous living. My mind and my ability to think and my ability to plot and plan righteously, and the discipline. The discipline. If need be, I can sweep an auditorium floor, a basketball court with a toothbrush, and do a better job than the person with the push broom or some type of electronic vacuum cleaner. You got to be willing to put in the work. And I ain't got no problem putting in the work to reach my goal when I see it. And there's nobody who can stop me. And you have to have that type of drive Heal yourself. If you're hurt behind something, you may not be in the state of mind to be that way, but cultivate the good lessons. Put the good word in your head. Stop listening to gossip. Stop partaking in that. That means something's wrong with you when you get in all of that stuff. Now, if your husband telling your wife something or somebody close and it's not that, it's something to warn them, fine. But there's so many diseases of the spirit that you can spot in other people and they don't even know you know. A diseased spirit. And most of them don't even want to heal. You should always be in a state of healing. Just like the natural food that you consume, if you consume it, it heals you naturally. The junk food with no nutrition, no healing, life force, or righteous healing enzymes in it won't do a damn thing for you. It will take you away from the perpetual beauty that we're supposed to have as human beings. Yes, we get older. Yes, sometimes hair gets gray. We get a little wrinkle here and there. We might be 10 pounds more than what we were when we were in our prime, but your beauty will never fade, especially when it's in alignment with your spiritual growth and beauty. And that aura that you have, that's so powerful, it goes beyond the physical body. That people who walk into a room, you might have your head down reading a book. You're in a doctor's office and they walk in and they look past everybody else and they spot you because there's something different about you because of the power that's inside of you. Don't let this wicked system take your power that way. Don't let this wicked system take your mind that way. It's yours to keep. And when people come around in a wayward way and try to chisel away from that, you remove them because you know exactly what their goal is. Don't even argue with them. The ultimate revenge is to put a wall up, block them out. You don't hear them, you don't see them, you don't get no eye contact, you ain't got to deal. Keep your poison to yourself. How about that? Anyway, as always, it's a pleasure. And again, excuse my way of speaking. Next few weeks, I'm going to continue some heavy dental work. I'm on a lot of medication, which is not making me high. But the way the words come out sound a little funny. I hope you understood what I said. And know that I love you all. Keep positive, keep up. There's nothing that my parents never told me. And I hold true to that. No matter what chronological age I am. And always pass that righteous baton on because you don't know how precious it is to the younger folks. And even if they are older than you and need a boost and they have a righteous goal, you'll get paid spiritual dividends for investing in them and to encourage them. That's how it works. That's why my light is still shining. That's why I'm enjoying where I am right now, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And after I put this up for you to hear, I'm going to go out, meditate on the balcony, and just look over the mountains until it's time to go for my slumber, which I'm looking forward to. And whatever the message is tomorrow that hits me, I'm going to come with it, straight from the hip. And for most, it might be boring because they're waiting for gossip, or they're waiting for anger, or they're waiting for me accusing somebody or whatever. No. You're going to get better. And if I have 2 or 3 with me, cool. I'm not looking to play the social media game. I never really did. I'm just saying it. My own little corner, I'm good because I'm happy with what I have. Thank God for it. Thank you for it. The well wishes. And may we move on to improve and get better. Much love. Lancescurv out. On to the next one. Leave a few comments so we can continue to talk. Peace.